Hello, Matthew, sir. Hello.
Yeah, hi. I am there,
Yeah,
Baburaj.
okay, sir. Shall we start the program, sir?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Ms. Sneha Prem Kumar,
Yes, sir.
can we start?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
It's not that we use technology, we live technology. Warm greetings to everyone present here. I'm honored to present Dr. Timothy and with great pleasure invited you all today for this workshop on robotic process automation. Now we'll have Bible reading by Flora Christabel.
The word of the Lord for this special day has been taken from the book of Psalms, chapter 111, verses from 1 to 10. Praise the Lord. I will extol the Lord with all my heart in the council of the upright and in the assembly. Great are the works of the Lord, they are pondered by all who delight in them. Glorious and majestic are his deeds, and his righteousness endures forever. He has caused his wonders to be remembered. The Lord is gracious and compassionate. He provides food for those who fear him. He remembers his covenant forever. He has shown his people the power of his words, giving them the lands of other nations. The works of his hands are faithful and just. All his precepts are trustworthy. They are established forever and ever, enacted in faithfulness and uprightness. He provided redemption for his people. He ordained his covenant forever. Holy and awesome is his name. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. All who follow his precepts have good understanding. To him belongs eternal praise. Here ends the reading.
Thank you, Flora. May I now request Renita to lead the prayer?
Prayer. God, our loving Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful day, Lord. Thank you for guiding us till this day. Thank you for the gift of education you have given us in every form, Lord. As we have gathered to attend this webinar section, I ask you for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Bless the speaker, the principal, bless our institution, our professors, and all the students. Let your peace rule all of us, Lord. Help us to trust in your name as always. Bless us, guide us, and protect us. In Jesus' mighty name, I believe and pray. Amen.
Thank you, Renita. It is indeed a great pleasure and extend my cheerful welcome to our Bishop and Chairman, Reverend Timothy Ravinda, Correspondent, Mr. M. N. Sudan Appadare, Principal, Dr. J. Joshua Nanashekran, HOD, Professor P. Nisha Priya, our Chief Guest, Professors, and all the participants. I welcome each and everyone. Special mention to our Staff Coordinator, Professor S. Baburaj, and Student Coordinators, Abdul, Ronald, and Ansif. It gives me great pleasure to extend my warm wishes on behalf of Department of Computer Science and Engineering of CSI College of Engineering. I want to convey my heartfelt gratitude to our chief guest, Mr. Matthew Setkinraj, Solution Architect at Gramina IT Services, Bengaluru, for accepting the invitation and presiding over this workshop on robotic process automation. Once again, welcome you, sir. Now we'll have guest introduction by Shainas Banu.
Good morning, all. I'm profoundly delighted to introduce our chief guest, Mr. Matthew Shekinras James, Solution Architect at Gartner IT Service. More than 16 years of experience in enterprise architecture of large-scale distributed system, software product development, and system integration. Certified instructor for IBM on WebSphere portfolio with a high client rating. Design and implementation expert in SOA governance solution. Extensive experience in integration of enterprise solution, and also advanced expertise and experience in application design and implementation using IBM products. He also has experience in infrastructure design and implementation, expertise in conducting technology proof of concepts at client location. Sir also worked as principal consultant in Technotruf Info Services and assistant professor MCA department. His overall experience is about 21 years. Education is all about Master of Computer Application, Bharathasan University, and Bachelor of Science, Chemistry, Bharathasan University. Sir has various skills like WebSphere integration, developer,
Thank you, Shahnas. May I now request Professor S. Babaraj to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Sneha. Good morning to all. I deem it a great honor and privilege to purpose the vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. Let me first of all start by giving glory to the Almighty God for making today's occasion a resounding success. First and foremost, I thank our special guest, Mr. Matthew Sekinaraj, Solution Architect, Government IT Services, Bengaluru, who despite his busy schedule has found time to grace this occasion. Thank you, Matthew, sir. And I also express my heartfelt thanks to our beloved Right Reverend Timothy Ravinder Bishop in Coimbatore Diocese and Chairman of CSICE College of Engineering, KT, for his support and blessings. Thank you, sir. We are grateful to our beloved correspondent, Mr. Sudan Appadurai, for his guidance and encouragement. I thank him for his guidance, his interest, his contribution, and continuous support. Thank you, sir. We are grateful to our beloved Principal, Dr. J. Joshua Nyanasekaran, for his leadership, support, vision, and commitment. Thank you, sir. My sincere thanks to Professor Nisha Priya, Head of the Department, Computer Science and Engineering, for her support and guidance for this program. Thank you, ma'am. My heartfelt thanks to the heads of various departments and the faculty for their valuable contributions, guidance, and encouragement in all our efforts. I pay my special gratitude to Mr. Jerry Vasanta Kumar, System Administration, for his technical support. I thank all the student volunteers who involved in this successful program, especially Mr. Abur Rahman, 3rd CSE, Mr. Ronald, Mr. Ansif, 3rd CSE, Ms. Snega Premakumar, 3rd CSE, Ms. Rita, 3rd CSE, Ms. Flora, 3rd CSE, and Ms. Seganas, 3rd year Computer Science. Finally, I thank all the participants for spending your valuable time on this program. I wish this program would help you in your career. Once again, I thank you all. God bless you, you and your family members. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now we'll have national anthem. I request all to give due respect to the national anthem and kindly mute your mics.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
I request all the participants not to leave the meeting. We'll have breaks in between, and all the participants are requested to fill the feedback form. The link will be sent later in the chat box to avail your e-certificates. I ensure that this workshop will be profitable for each and everyone here. Now, I would like to call upon the chief guest to start the session and enlighten us with his thoughts. Sir, now it's over to you and you may start the session.
Sure. Thank you, Sneha, and of course, the management and staff of CSI Engineering College for having me here. And just a quick check, is my voice coming over clearly? And do you need my video to be on, or is it okay if I just go with the presentation? Yeah, if somebody can
So your voice
acknowledge.
is audible and the screen is visible.
Okay, so if somebody can acknowledge, yeah, thanks. And maybe one of you all can take responsibility to acknowledge if in, or stop me in between and say if things are not going smooth. Okay, because when working remotely, there are these hazards that we face often. Yeah, so now again, continuing to say that I really need to appreciate all the students who have joined here more so willingly, that even on a Saturday morning, you're able to spend some time learning something. So I would try to make this as fruitful as possible. And I would also like you all to interact as and when possible here. Basically, the one thing that all your mics are muted, but if you can raise your hands or ask questions like in more convenient ways, we can make the session interactive. So I really do not know how many people are watching this or on YouTube and things like that. But of course, for people who have a chance to interact, please try and do. So here, one of the things that we specialize as an organization, Gramener IT Services, and I specialize in delivering is working with processes. Okay, so uh, in today's session, we would understand what is robotic process automation, and this session is going to be reasonably long one, considering 4 hours, but I would try to uh, say keep it a bit light, considering a Saturday, and also as informative as possible. So we'll try to strike a balance between the two. So when I talk about robotic process automation from a solutioning point of view, it is kind of catching up in most of the industries right now. So but in this session, we would keep it at a high level where we would go and start talking about what is RPA in the very first place, to understand what RPA helps us to do, and then go into some details of its architecture and things like that. So this agenda is something that you might already have. Okay, and we're going to go through this one by one. I'll try to make it as interactive as possible, and show some demos here, but I would want somebody to chip in, throw in a message saying it would be better this way or something like that. Just feel free to tell that. Okay, now to introduce RPA to you, first thing, this is a technology, and to about robotics, this is a software. Okay, so we are talking about a software robot here. The idea about software robots are, a robot generally we understand that this is meant to mimic or do what humans do, but a software robot also is a mimic of humans, but the only thing is it runs within a computer or a runtime environment where software can run. So now, when we try to understand what these robots do, it goes in the name. So one of the things that generally you'll have to understand is, of course, you understand what is automation. Okay, doing things more automatically without human intervention. Uh, and what is process automation? Process automation is basically, you'll understand that if you understand what is a process. So in any domain, okay, be it the banking sector or the retail sector, or even in the education industry, there are steps that are carried out in a certain order to complete certain tasks. Say, for example, in a bank, if you need to open an account, uh, so you just go into the bank, you'll notice that you contact a person there, and the teller asks for some information, then he fills up a form, and they follow a certain set of tasks. And there might be another channel. Say you open their web page, and from there you are able to um, initiate an account opening. So the entry points might be different, but internally the processes that, or actions that are taken to eventually create an account would be completed. There would be two types of paths. They say that that's one is called the happy path, when everything is in place. Say you're applying for a loan in a bank. So when everything is in place, you just seamlessly go through say 7-10 steps, and then you get a loan. But if certain things are not sufficient as the bank expects, like the background verification check did not come out well, then they take alternate paths. So a process would contain the happy path or the alternate path and all that. And in all these, there are certain tasks in a process that can be automated, or it doesn't require human intelligence. So when I say when humans are not required here, it is basically uh, steps where human intelligence is not required. Typically, if you see the bottom of the screen, these are some of the things. Like, for example, I need to copy a data from one place and paste it into another place. I don't need any intelligence there. I need to just have some knowledge of how to scrap data or capture data, and or I need to just say send a meeting invite to say in the communicate part. I need to send a meeting invite to these kind of things that are what to say. We generally call this as back office tasks, or where people really don't have to apply those steps, clear cut instructions, and it's a routine job. Then these kind of tasks in a process would be automated via bot. So that is what this technology is all about. Okay, so robotic process automation is about automating tasks in a process using a software robot. Okay, and this has been in the industry in different forms for a long time now. Like, for example, if you talk about system administrators, people who work on operating systems, they have been writing automation scripts for cleaning up small portions of like that, which is a very been one, or if you've learned to be one, or you've spoken to one, they have a lot of scripting capabilities, as they say. Okay, they write a lot of scripts to automate stuff. And then you have uh, testers who automate testing. Testing automation has been in the industry for a long while now. So they have different types of testing. So one of that is automated testing. So that is also something that has been there. And RPA is very similar in terms of these streams, but it looks at back office people. So this is slightly different. This is more about people who interact with process, or end users, as you can call, okay, end users and other users of applications. So you try to eliminate that. Now there is a lot of talk about RPA removing people from job. Okay, so basically when I put a robot, it's supposed to remove a full-time employee for me. So there are discussions about that happening, if it is good or bad and all that, but still this is what an RPA does. It eventually takes off a job of an employee, but that employee will be moved on to do something more useful, where he applies his mind and things like that, okay, intelligent work rather than the monotonous repetitive work. Now when do we bring an RPA into a system? Say, for example, we have a bank use RPA. So uh, first of all, they need to find out if RPA is a suitable solution that we can adapt or we can use in the bank. Now, when they do this, say the feasibility, as we say, when they try to analyze the feasibility or the need of RPA, one of the things that they need to find out is how many highly manual and repetitive processes do they have. So when we say repetitive processes which have to be done by human being, it is basically like you click this button on the left side, then you click the window on the right side, click the another button on the right side, okay, copy this content, paste it in this place and send an email, and they do it from morning to afternoon. Okay, so that is manual and highly repetitive. They keep on doing the same thing again and again. It could be on a daily basis, weekly basis. So they do this, like there are weekly reports that are generated, so they copy stuff from one place, put it in another place, do a minor calculation, and then send emails. So these kind of highly manual repetitive processes, if they are in a system, then that is a candidate for pushing in a robot there. The other thing that robots would need to work properly is rule based processes. So where if there are already predetermined rules that the bot will just follow, it works efficiently. But when there are places where there is no rule for that, we'll have to check how this has to happen. Ideally, say for example, you walk into a bank and you ask something, the teller does not know what to do, meaning the teller doesn't have a rule for this particular incident. Like for example, you want to pre-close a loan, and you say that can you give me a discount on the pre-closure charges. So for him, he doesn't know if he can give the discount or is it a regular thing to do. So he involves people who can think about it. Like for example, he involves a manager, he asks a couple of people and then say, okay, this is a special case and we'll like to consider this. So those are examples where rules cannot be applied. It is a decision, ad hoc decision that is made by the manager out of his experience and other things. So that is just an example. Okay, so like that, where rules are not involved, robots cannot work. So when there is very tightly outlined rules, robots are best to do that. And then when there are not too many alternate or exception flows, okay, basically when I said a process is a set of steps that you follow to complete some task. Now when these steps are sequential, okay, in a single sequence, it's best for a robot. That is called a low exception rate. But then when there are too many conditions. Okay, if this is there, go to the left side. If this is there, take the steps on the right side. Okay, I'm trying to help you visualize here. Okay, so when there are too many conditions in a process, so if you want to visualize a process, okay, since I don't have a diagram for that, if you want to visualize a process, you should visualize something like a flow chart. Okay, so you should have seen a flow chart. For computer science students, you might have seen UML diagrams. Okay, you see things like sequence diagrams, event state chart diagrams, and things like that. So those kind of things you can visualize as a process flow. Now, when that has too many conditions, then it's a high exception rate. Okay, so there are too many different handling procedures. So that will not suit a robot typically. And the other thing that suits a robot more is processes with readable electronic input. Okay, so the robot needs to have a good base for reading inputs. Like robots are good at reading comma separated values, which is one of the most common transferred. Now, between people, Excel sheet, that is a very famous thing and a most common thing that is used by every industry. So bots are good at reading Excels. They are very good at reading emails, XML files, even PDFs. Again, handwritten print on PDF would be a little difficult. There are tools for that. But if it's a proper printed format, inputs can be read from PDF as well. So this would start as an input to the process, to the bot, and then the bot can move on from there into doing all that. Okay, so next I'm going to talk about components and architecture. But before that, I will pause for a moment. Maybe let me check if there are any questions. Okay, so there aren't any questions, at least what I can see out of here. Nothing pops up. Is there something that you would like to ask? You can drop a note on the chat window. And then quickly. Okay, so if you have any questions until this, okay, so basically until this, you should be able to tell someone what is a process, okay, what is automation inside a process, and what RPA as a whole is. Okay, if you're able to tell these three things to somebody, you should be happy that you've learned something at this level. So is there a restriction on typing on chat? If not, please say something. If you don't have a question, you can still say something. If you have a question, please feel free to type there. Okay, let me ask a very simple question that people can answer here. Okay. First thing, am I still audible? Are others in the meeting as well? Okay. Ronaldo is there. Can I have something from others? Messi, Neymar. Okay, Abdur. Fine. So I'll take that as a sample. Yeah, quite a few people are responding. Good. So basically, yeah, that's quite good. Thank you. So basically, because it's very odd speaking into silence, okay, when we don't have anything from the other side. So I was just checking if you're still there. Good. Now, let me go and show you a small bot that I have in my system. Okay. So this is not something that I use regularly. Okay. So I just created this for just showing the small demo here. So there is no business case for it. Okay. So it's just for the fun of it. So I have a bot that is on my machine. Okay. This is the hello world bot. Let us see what it does. Okay. I'm just running this bot here. So it opens up a notepad. Okay. Type something, say hello everyone. Hope you're been well. Okay. Now it says, okay, let me go check the news and come back. So basically, this is supposed to open up a browser. Okay. And open the news for me. And hopefully it doesn't show any errors there. Yeah, so let's skip that. Okay. So then it says it's time to catch up on the email. So this message box comes and then I say okay to that. Then it opens up the email for me. So I didn't open this Outlook. Okay, so this is the bot that opened up for me. Okay, so there are some syncing errors. Never mind. Now let it be syncing. Okay, so my email is syncing, so I can go read the emails later. Now the bot again opens the notepad here and says, okay, we should continue the session perhaps. And then I expect the bot to open back my PowerPoint presentation. So this is what a bot can do. So if you notice here, I've installed a few bots on my machine. Okay, let this. Okay, so I've installed a few bots on my machine and I can run them whenever I want. Okay, so there are some bots that I can automate, like I can schedule them, putting reminders. This is exactly what a bot does. It does what a human being will do on a system. Okay, say for example, open a file, type something into the file, then from there open another application, say the Outlook or something like that, and then read through that. Okay, so you might notice that the bot just opened the windows at the moment, but it can in fact infer text on that, and then based on that we can ask the bot to do something as well. Now let us understand what are the components that are available for us to work with. Okay, and how they work together. So first thing, to develop or create a bot, we have something called as the studio or the development tool, okay, or the developer tool. Now the screen capture that I put here is of a application called it's of an application called the Blue Prism. Okay, so I've just it's a interface where I can go and design processes as a flow and then write automation code within this. Okay, so every tool has a different way of doing the same thing. But one thing that is more common is most of the tools are no code or low code tools. So design students, at least I presume that you would be aware that one of the latest trends in development is low code. Okay, low code, and some people go even to no code. Basically, one side of it that I'm sure that you'll be aware of is everybody wants to be a full stack developer these days. Okay, they are all into full stack and things like that. And the other side of it is low code, which is very prevalent in the industry. Everybody wants to use this because this has a very quick turnaround time to from development to pushing it to into production. And then these tools have other capabilities, like for example, if I want, because it is a no code tool, okay, so I don't have to write any code. I can just do some action on the computer and ask this tool, the developer tool, to, or make the developer tool to record the whole session, and then it will be keeping on doing it again and again repetitively. So it will create a bot out of that recorded session, and the bot can then go and do these things, the same sequence of items. So for that, you don't really need a person who knows how to write code. Okay, it could be somebody who understands business, okay, or somebody who's been doing this task for umpty number of years. They just have to use this developer tool and create a bot by just showing them what it does. It's like teaching another person. You just make them sit near you. Okay, look at this. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to click this, open this, type this, save this, copy this, whatever. So then the bot mimics the whole thing again and again. So the developer tool has these kind of capabilities. Okay, and then for more higher end development, team development and things like that, it has the capability to integrate with the source control systems like Git, SVN, anything for that matter. Okay, and so this developer studio is the tool that helps you to create process automation flows or create bots in a sense. Then the second component of RPA is are the bots themselves. Okay, so as I told you, these are software bots. At a high level, we can classify them as programmable bots and then cognitive or intelligent automation bots. Okay, those are at a very high level, two different types of bots that we can have. Now, programmable bots are the first generation RPA tools where somebody needs to write a code with conditions, loops, all that kind of stuff, and then put that bot somewhere, and then it keeps running forever and ever doing the same thing. Okay, so these first generation RPA tools were very similar to what I told you earlier, like how an administrator would write some automation scripts to manage his routine. Okay, so check if the audit files are filled up, to say the log files are filled up to a certain extent, like if there is a 5 MB log file, he writes a script that move this file from this folder to that for another archive folder, and then create a new file where the logs will be written, something like that. That's very similar. They had a lot of programming that had to be done, but these bots that the first generation bots are still in use. Okay, and that is what we are going to see now. One of the reasons is the cognitive and intelligent automation bots are still evolving. Okay, they connect with other technologies. Okay, just give me a second. Getting some messages here. Okay, so I have a question here. Is that a question or a message? Okay, I presume it's a message. Okay, yes, Abdur. Yeah, that is how it works. I'll anyway come to that, touch upon those things. Okay, so yeah, I was talking about the cognitive bots. Okay, so they require a lot of other machine learning, NLP, image recognition, and all that. Image recognition, of course, is available even otherwise, but cognitive bots are more for the future. Not too many of them are there in the industry, but programmable bots are today. If you say what is RPA, I would say it is programmable bots. Now, these programmable robots are of two types basically. One called attended bots and the other one called unattended bots. Okay, they are also called front office bots, back office bots. Okay, FOR, BOR, and all that. So there are different types of naming conventions based on the tooling or the product that you use to build them. Okay, so the general convention is attended and unattended. So attended bots are like bots that share a computer with a human being. Okay, so like for example, I'm using this laptop now, but in between I can go and start off a bot. The bot will do a small process and make things faster for me. An unattended bot is where it is deployed into a system, mostly a system which is not used by a human being. So it runs background processes there. Okay, like when it needs to execute something, when the number of users in the system are very less. Say for example, I'm running a retail application. Okay, so during the morning hours, I will have a lot of people coming into the system. Okay, like say for example, it's an online shopping system. Okay, so during working hours you'll have a lot of people logging in and off, and I do some maintenance tasks, okay, in batch mode. So basically I will take it off to something like 1 a.m 2 a.m in the morning. So we don't need an administrator to come and see all that, okay, generally, but it's not all the time as happy as that. So generally we don't expect somebody to be monitoring. So we have an unattended bot, the bot that can be started off by a scheduler, run, and then unsupervised it can just close down. It of course will keep sending information to a monitor, or what is called as a control center or an orchestrator, where the orchestrator can basically find out or get alerts when something has gone wrong. Okay, if something needs to be restarted uh, or something like that. Okay, so both these kind of bots require their own runtime environment. So if you noticed within my system, when I executed this bot, I opened up this thing from my system tray. Okay, so this is called a UI path assistant, and this is a runtime environment. So it has its own runtime libraries and things like that that will help the bot to execute. So then the third component that we have here is it's called the control center, sometimes called the control room, sometimes called the orchestrator. Now, this is a whole, say, a dashboard which has all the information that somebody who needs to manage or administer a bot will use. Okay, so this is a large application. Usually this application is not installed on individual machines. Like if I talk about an organization or an enterprise, whatever you call it, who have bought say licenses for an RPA tool, they would have a single control center and then say hundreds of client machines. So the idea is from the studio, if you can see the diagram on the bottom, there's a pointer option, yeah. Okay, so if you can see this particular diagram here, so from the studio where the bot is developed, okay, it could be coded or assembled or whatever. When the bot is developed, the bot would be pushed to the control room, and from the control room the bot will get installed into individual client machines. Okay, say in a bank there are about 10 teller machines. Okay, we would install the bot. So one bot would be created. The copy of that same bot would be installed on all the 10 of them. And then from the control room, it could be installed into systems where unattended bots are used. Okay. And then from the control room again, so this setting up of the client machines, installing the runtimes into the client machines, maintaining connections, maintaining license between client machines and control center. So these are all what we call the provisioning. Okay, so then the bots, every time say a new version of the bot is developed. Okay, so we already have a hello world bot, and then the a small modification version 1.1 has to be released. So the studio builds it, sends it to the control room. The control room will upgrade a bot. Okay, so the deployment of new packages, upgradations, all these will be done. It will also maintain any configuration that is required. It will also maintain schedulers, queues. So when sometimes there would be 3 or 4 bots lined up in a queue, and they'll be all deployed into a same machine. So once the first bot is complete, then the second bot will be started by the control center and all that. And then the control center typically helps us in monitoring how these bots work. Okay, this whole thing will be monitored there. Okay, so now before I go into this slightly bigger architecture diagram, I would again like to pause here for a moment, and then I would say again pause for some questions under the chat window. This is not coming down. Okay, so okay, so if there are no questions here, we would slowly move into the next thing. Okay, the next architecture diagram here, which is a enterprise scale architecture. So I'll yeah, there's one question that comes. Where is it used? Okay, so as I told you, today every enterprise is pushing towards automation. Okay, every enterprise. And as an architect, I have like recently seen at least in the past, say 5 to 6 years, I've seen at least 10 new companies that have come for consulting asking for bot implementation. Now, when you say where it is used, I'll give you one example. Okay, right now the current client I'm working with is a telecom provider. It's a Nordic based Nordic region in the European Nordic regions like Norway, Sweden. So there they extensively use bot for managing operations. Okay, that is a telecom provider. Uh, my own experience, we have used bots for enterprises like media giants in India. Okay, TV and all that kind of, right. So they use bots internally for report generations and all that kind of stuff. I'll give you one example on that later. Okay, so it gets used in all these places. Okay, so the other question I have is, automation improved with ML AI algorithms like non-supervised algo where it learns by itself? Definitely, yeah. So like I told you, that is where the future lies. Okay. So now Okay, I got disconnected for a moment. Now I'm back in. Okay, just tell me if you're able to still hear me and see my screen. One of you can answer. Okay, thank you. Fine. So, like I was telling, yeah, the future of bots lie in automation. I mean, artificial intelligence and machine learning and things like that, where bots will start making decisions. As I told you in the very first, when the introduction, I told you that bots are for doing non-intelligent work of humans. Okay, bots are also starting to do intelligent work. There are solutions that are deployed there, but if you take this today's status of the industry, um, the programmable bots are more compared to AI and cognitive bots, as we call them. Okay, cognitive bots. So today it's you can call it in a ratio of 90 to 10. Okay, only 10% are catching up with cognitive bots, because there are a lot of other AI driven solutions, and bots are not being pushed in that area too much. So that is it. Now I will just explain this slide, this one, about 5 to 8 minutes of break, and then come back. Okay, so now this slide gives you a holistic view of what a solution architecture would look like. Okay, so the first so the applications under execution. So this part, okay, so this part here is in any enterprise, they would have variety of applications, like for an Oracle database, an IBM server, an SAP application, CRM, connected to AWS services, all integrated using REST calls and things like that. Okay, neighbors or varieties of applications that are existing in a enterprise. You can, when I say an enterprise, if you really want to understand or try to visualize something, you think of that as a bank. Say, for example, ICICI Bank or something like that. Okay, so an ICICI banking application will have a lot of services. Okay, they have hosted services for payment, ATM, say debit card onboarding, credit card onboarding, account opening, account closure, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, and they will also have their own database systems, CRM systems. Okay, and their say IBM servers, like for example the WebSphere servers for hosting their applications, the web-based applications and things like that. So for that, they'll have a whole execution infrastructure that they would have. Now, when RPA comes into the picture, the idea about RPA is to interact with these applications. Okay, so your bots should be capable of interacting with the database, interacting with web applications, interacting with CRM servers, REST applications, AWS, and all that. Okay, so the RPA platform will contain what is called as component libraries. Okay, your RPA component libraries that are capable of communicating with systems. Like for example, say when I take a very simple thing, you might want to interact with a say Google Chrome okay, you might want to interact with a Google Chrome browser. Okay, so you need some libraries for that. Okay, so your RPA platform will have all those libraries. Then it'll have its own application object store. Okay, where various applications, like for example, Chrome itself. Okay, so objects that represent these applications during runtime, they would be stored here. So those application object stores will be there, and also runtime data, transactional data for RPA processes will be there. And then this is a set of libraries that you'll have. Then you'll have the software robots, like I told you, which do the actual job. Okay, those are the players who go in and play on the field. And then we have the orchestration, where your runtime configurations and all that are maintained. And apart from that, there is an extensive logging system. Okay, because when you make the bots do more serious job than just opening notepads and opening browsers, okay, when you make them do more serious job, there is always chances that there is some failure at some place. So you might want to go back to the logs, check what happened, come back and troubleshoot and all that. And then the very important part of the RPA component architecture, or the solution architecture rather, would be the analysis part. Okay, because when a company invests in RPA, it is a huge sum at the moment. Okay, the licenses are pretty costly to run a bot for about a year. They pay a lot of money. So the companies would always want to analyze and find out if that investment is giving enough returns, and how that can be refined for better returns. Okay, so the RPA processes that are built will always be analyzed, reviewed, and they'll keep on be refining that. Okay, now RPA can directly connect with a lot of RPA tools like the browsers, Citrix servers, desktops, and all that, and the code can be put in config management system or your code management system, wherever that is there. Okay, so this is where we head next. We'll talk about very few vendors, and then I'm going to go into a demo. Okay, so it's 10:15 at the moment. I'm going to break now. Okay. Okay, so Kritika says my voice is not clear. Yeah, even I've had some notifications that internet is a bit on. Let me check that during break. Okay, but still. Okay, looks like there is a minor internet issue. Okay, but yeah, I'll try to check that during a break. It's 11 a.m. now. We're going to take a break for about say 10 minutes. So we'll start exactly at 11:10. I'm not going to start a timer, but I will in the meantime try and log off and log in again and check if it is all set. Okay, so we'll take a break with immediate effect and come back. Okay, so just give me an acknowledgement on the chat window that we anyways about a minute late. So presume most of y'all would be back in. So just somebody give me an acknowledgement on the chat window if you're hearing me right and you're able to see my screen, then we'll continue. Sure, thank you. I think that's good enough to start. Okay, now a quick recap. Of course, we've not done too many things, but if you want a quick to say assess or understand what you've learned so far and see if you are on the expected stage. Okay, you should understand what an RPA is. Okay, we spoke about major components. One was the studio. Okay, that helps. Then we spoke about the bots themselves. Okay, we spoke about two types of bots: attended and unattended bots. So we also mentioned that bot with their own intelligence when bots are integrated with AI. Then we spoke about one more component called the orchestrator. So the orchestrator is the one that basically controls the entire platform of RPA in an enterprise. Okay, and finally we saw a big picture, which is what an enterprise would have in terms of their existing solutions as well as the infrastructure, and when the platform RPA platform comes in, what will be available within the platform as well. Okay, so that's how much we've seen. Okay, in terms of summary that doesn't count for a long summary, but since it's a Saturday and a new technology and all that, so I'm keeping things slow. I have a chat and someone says that they can hear me. Good. So now I'm going into a demo, but before that I'll quickly talk about who are the big players of the RPA world. Okay, this is the later market review. Okay, it's called the large companies that do a lot of analysis about support. Okay, and the other one is the Forrester Wave. Okay. Just give me a second.
Gramin Puta.
Sorry.
தம்பி என்னது இது?
Just give me a second. I'll just try to switch my network and we'll see if the voice becomes any clearer.
டைம் இருக்குதா ராஜா?
ஏன்டா தம்பி இப்படி பண்ணிருக்க?
இல்லை சித்தப்பண்ண நாடப்பண்ண நீ என்ன செஞ்சிட்டு இருக்க நீ?
நீலே இப்படி பண்ற கிறுக்கு மெண்டல் பயிர்களாம்.
மழை வர வாய்ப்பு இருக்கிறது. தம்பி கிளாஸ் எடுக்காம என்ன பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கீங்க?
அதை ஆரம்பிச்சிடுறேங்க சார்.
ஒன்று அறுத்து விடுங்க அறுத்து.
அந்த பயம்.
Okay, so it looks like somebody is very entertained about attending the class here. Okay, thanks for your weather reports and things like that. It would be nice if you can put your name on the chat also so that everybody knows who's speaking. Fine, let me resume. Again, please keep telling me if the voice is not clear, okay? And of course, the other things if you would like to share. Now, talking about the major vendors who are part of the RPA domain, the biggest player today is UiPath. And again, is the voice any better now? Somebody, if you can just respond. I've just switched my network now.
Yes, sir.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. So UiPath is the market leader, okay, and as I was telling, the Forrester Wave is and the Gartner report are two things that you can trust to understand who are the big players in the industry, how the market is panning out, who are innovators, who have strong presence, meaning when we say strong presence, it's about how many customers they've deployed there and all that. Okay, so if you can just analyze here, UiPath is the strongest current offering is with UiPath. Okay, UiPath is both the organization as well as the product name, and the next strong presence or the strong offering is Automation Anywhere. In fact, if you went 3-4 years ago, Automation Anywhere was the market leader, but now Automation Anywhere is fallen back to UiPath, and the other big player is Blue Prism. And the other things that are coming up is like, if you see Microsoft has its own Power Automation, which is also considerably good, but it's new. Okay, there are new features. Then there are a lot of things in the market. Okay, this picture only gives the top end of the market here, who are present here. So now we are going to okay, so uh, is there an admin here who can put everybody on mute until I ask them to be released?
Okay, sir. 1 minute, sir.
Yeah, because it's funny once in a while, but then it's distracting when we keep doing that. And have you unmuted me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So this ensures that the participants don't get to unmute themselves, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. So if they need to give a weather report or some cuss words, you can put it on the chat so that we can get to know who you are. Okay. So yeah, as I was talking, this is only the top of the market, but there are a lot of other players who are in the RPA technology. So now each of this, okay, be it UiPath, Automation Anywhere, or Blue Prism, there is this common thing overlapping. Okay, that is, they'll have a studio, they'll have an orchestrator, they'll have robots. Okay, if you go to Automation Anywhere, it's called the bot creator, control room, bot runners. Okay, if it's UiPath, it's called the studio, orchestrator, and UiPath bots. Okay, and if you go to Blue Prism, it's called Object Studio, Digital Workforce. Digital Workforce is the bot actually, and then the control room. So their conventions and names will change, but what they have will be the same thing. So now we are going right into the demo. Okay, so we're going to see three things here. One is the studio itself. Okay, so now remember I ran a bot already. Okay, just it won't take much time if I need to just run it again. Okay, so this basically is the bot that we ran already. So it opens this window up and then types something and goes on. Okay, so it opens the browser after this and all that. So here, if required, I can just stop the bot. Okay, so this is where the bot went and open the thing. Okay, so it's able to infer the news as well. Okay, so it just picks up the top line of the news and then it went on to open this the Outlook for me. Okay, and we saw that the bot also brought us back into this one. So this is the icon where you see the bot is running. Okay, and once the bot runs, it automatically closes. Now this whole bot has been implemented in this studio. Okay, so this is the implementation. I'm just showing you the high level here. Okay, so I go and open a notepad and type something into it. Just give it a delay for 10 seconds to probably people to read it, and then have it open a browser. Okay, just gets it gets text from the browser, the news text. Okay, pops it up on the message box, and then after that it opens the Outlook application. Okay, helps me read the email for some time, or rather allows me to, and then it opens up the notepad and goes on. Okay, so eventually it opens the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so that is what we had built in. Now to understand more of the studio, okay, You can download this studio from okay, so you can download this studio from UiPath website. The studio is available for free with 2 user licenses. I mean, 2 types of licenses. And basically, if you go for products, you'll notice that there is something called the Studio as well as Studio X. And if you already have it by any chance, if you've been trying it out, well and good. If not, don't get distracted trying to download them now and trying to do things parallelly with me, because it's since it's a short workshop, it might not be possible. But generally, that is what I would encourage in a more formal training if we are staying up for more than a day. Okay, so I will encourage participants to download the studio and set it up, and then we do things along with each other. Okay, basically we try to learn how things are done. So once your studio is downloaded, okay, you have this thing. Okay, now so if you go for the studio, okay, there are 2 versions of it that you can use freely. Okay, both will be called as community. Okay, community version. One is called the Studio Pro community, and the other one is called the Studio X community. Okay, now the difference is Studio X community is aimed at people who do not understand coding. Understand coding in the sense, basically people who do not understand things like what are variables, constants, scoping variables, what are loops, conditions, those kind of things. Okay, so basic the fundamentals of coding they will not know, but they can create their own bots. That is for the Studio community. And the Pro community, Studio Pro is again a free version. Community versions are free. Studio Pro is more for a advanced style of programming. And if you install one, you can actually switch between the 2. So I can go and click here. Okay, right now I opened the Studio X version. Okay, if you can see on the top of the page. Now I just switch license. If I say S, it will restart into a Studio Pro version. Okay, so I'm today the predominant part of the demonstration I would run with the Studio community, I mean Studio X version of it, because that's easy to follow in a sense. And then we'll also see a demo of the Studio Pro version. Okay, so this is the higher version. Okay, so if you see, there'll be a lot of things like your conventional editors, like you see your say an Eclipse or something like that. So this will be an advanced version where you can see the error list, the projects, and various things like that. Okay, and I'll again go back to the Studio X version here for the purpose. So I open the Studio X here. This will quickly restart. Okay. So what I'm basically going to do is I have a couple of files here. I'll, for the demo purpose, okay, so I create a folder here for this demo. So these are the base files I'm going to work with. Okay, and the use case or the flow that I'm trying to demonstrate here is okay. So this is a use case that actual people in the industry get to do. Okay, perhaps with a little change this side and that side, but they most of the time have similar things that they do. So you can consider this as something like 90% close to an industry standard. Okay, because I've always seen that gap between what is shown in college, like what you do in your college labs, and a gap between what is actually done in the industry. Okay, so I wanted to demonstrate something that is very close to what is done in the industry. So here the use case is, there is a person, back office employee, who takes care of uh, consolidating a sales report and sending an email to someone. Okay, so his work is to consolidate a sales report and send that as an email to probably one or two people or higher ups. So he receives a CSV file. Okay, this file is handed to him in some form. So he receives a CSV file. Now he has to convert this into a spreadsheet. Okay, and so spreadsheet is our Excel, and in that he does some calculation. So he has sales from different regions. Okay, so he has sales records from various countries. So he wants to send a report in USD. Okay, US dollars. So he takes the current today's currency conversion rate, and then against which he calculates the total sales in USD, and he goes and creates a pivot table. Okay, pivot table is like a table of summary. Okay, so he goes and creates a pivot table and then generates a report and then sends it over by email. So this is his regular task. So this is something that a lot of people in the industry, in the back office, still do. Okay, so they do this every Friday. They have this sales report that they generate and send. Okay, so that is what we're going to see how it is done. Now I am quite intentionally taking the Studio X version of it, because I'm expecting the back office person himself to go and automate his job. Okay, so it will not have much of coding required here. Of course, as I told you, later on I will go ahead and show you how this is done. Okay, so let me open a blank project. Okay, so this is the blank project. I will call it CSI demo, and I will go and put it in, point it to the folder that I just created. Okay, so this goes into this folder. Oh, okay, there is a double folder that I've created. I'm just putting some description there. Okay, so what I would do is I will move these two files into the new folder. So this becomes the project folder. So in the background, if you see, the UiPath Studio went on and created a few things. Okay, the only two things that I put inside here is the CSV file. Okay, so let me just open that CSV file and show to you. So this is the file that comes to the back office person. Okay, so this file has a heading that says product, price, currency, quantity, and location. So that is why it's called a CSV, separated values here. Okay, and as I've been telling you, this is something that comes common. So we have a product here. Okay, then the current the price of that, that is 11.19 in euros, the total quantity that was sold in the location, that is in France. So this is the CSV file. Let me close that, and then I have a report template, so to say, which is pretty much empty. Okay, so there is nothing here, there is nothing in the pivot table, and there is a currency conversion that we're going to do later. So we have these common the currencies that our system is going to work with. We'll have to find out the rates of today and then put them here and continue. So we will keep this here. Okay. Now coming back to the studio, this is a blank project. Okay, so the one that we just created, I'm going to add the first task. So I'm going to use this Excel as my base. So I'll say use this Excel file. Okay. And it says which Excel. So the file I'm going to choose the file here. That's in this same project folder. So basically I'm keeping it inside the same folder for convenience. You can keep it anywhere and do that. Now this Excel file will be created as an object here. Okay. And that object will have a name. So I can say something like report template. Okay, so this is the report template with which I'm going to work. Now my next task is, okay, I'm going to copy the contents of that, not this one. Okay, copy the contents of that CSV file that I was showing you and put it in this Excel sheet. Okay, so I'm going to ask the robot to read CSV. So now this is a point where I want you to understand another thing. How does these things come? So if you see within the studio, okay, there is something called as packages. So for people who worked with say for example people who worked with Eclipse, you know that we will be putting in packages in Eclipse that will help us to do certain type of development. Like for example, if you want to work with Java projects, then you put all the Java RT related packages, the Java related Eclipse plugins will be there. Similarly, if you want to work with C++, if you want to work with Python, you have all the Python plugins and things like that, right? So this works in a very similar concept here. So if I need to work with some type of external product, I want to automate the interaction between an external product, I would need to first install the packages here. So we have a package manager where you can go and publicly search packages. Okay. And then I'll have to download. So for this particular project, if you see, I already have some packages that I've installed. Okay. So this says the package is installed and this will help me to work on them. Okay. So that is how I get this use Excel and use CSV and all that coming in directly for me. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read this CSV and write it into the Excel sheet. So I'll have to specify the CSV file. And where do I put it? The output should go into, so it, as I told you, it has to go into the Excel sheet, right? So this is the Excel sheet. So notice here, I in the previous thing, I opened this report dot XLS file. I've referenced it as it's something like a variable that you create. Okay, so I've referenced it as report template. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this in the report template. I'm going to put it on it. It automatically detects that because we already loaded it and shows me the various sheets here. So I'm going to put it in the report sheet. Okay, so this now it also asks, does this CSV has header or it's only directly data? So if you noticed that CSV that we had opened, the top line is header, okay, and then the data comes in. So we are going to say that yes, it has headers here. Okay, so now if I just run this at this time, okay, this report sheet should get filled. Okay, so that's an interim check that we can do. So I run this and the bot, okay, what happens? Let me stop it. The report, let me enable editing here. I just have to verify if the paths are right. Okay, so the report file is there. The last run failed. Let's run it again. No. Okay, I fell prey to my own deceiving. Huh? Fine. So now if you see, the bot has actually done this in the background. Okay, so it opened this file initially because it was disabled for editing it through that error. So what the bot did was it picked up that values and put it here. Okay, so now the next thing I want to do here is I would like to go and create a new column where I would go and put the totals in USD. Okay, because that, if you remember, was our use case. Okay, so we have to put everything in USD. So I'm coming to my studio, and this time I'm going to add something called as write cell. So this will write a new cell, and the name I'm going to give here. Okay, the name I'm going to give here is total in USD. Okay, so where should it go? Now this is where you can notice you can indicate it on Excel. Okay, so I can specify on the Excel file. So this Excel file is opened here. Notice here on Excel, UiPath integration Excel add-in is enabled. And only because of that, UiPath is able to detect this Excel. So I'm going to specify this column. Okay, and say confirm. So the current selection is report and sheet colon F1. Okay, what's wrong with this thing now? Okay, let me open that report again. Okay, so we have this report. Let me open Studio. Open this, go to this, indicate on Excel. I want to indicate it here and click OK. So now that Excel is automatically closed. This one. So the other thing that I was trying to show you is here under options, under add-ins, you have to see that this UiPath integration Excel add-in is active. Okay, only then this works. So for every tool that the studio needs to interact with, there needs to be some add-ins installed. Okay, so for that, if you come here under the studio, in tools, you'll notice that I have installed the add-ins for Excel, I've installed add-ins for Chrome, Citrix, and all that kind of stuff, edge servers and all that. Now, UiPath is closely tied with Microsoft. So if you're using Internet Explorer or Edge browsers, it'll work. Now, the other thing, as a solutioning person, if I go to a customer and then if they want me to decide and tell, should they buy UiPath, should they buy Automation Anywhere, or should they buy Blue Prism and all that, then one choice that I would make is, what is the predominant type of desktop applications that the back office employees are using? So if they are using Windows systems, okay, if they are using Windows systems, then UiPath comes in very handy, because UiPath is tightly integrated to Windows DLLs, APIs, and all that. Okay, so it can in fact infer very minute details about Windows based applications. Your when I say Windows application, that's the exe applications that you hold. Okay, so now we have this cell that we've created. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to check the current currency conversion rate. Okay, so for that we need to go and open a browser. So let me say open browser application, and here also I have to indicate. So what I will do, just for the convenience sake, I will go to this and even search in Google. Okay, take this particular page, and now I'm going to indicate to UiPath to use this particular browser. I mean this window. So if you notice what UiPath does, it picks up this URL also. So what happens? It opens the browser application and picks this URL up, and this URL will be directly passed when the browser is opened. So now what I'm going to do, if I open this Excel under the converter sheet, just notice that I have the existing currencies that my organization deals with. Say, for example, as an organization, we sell in Europe, we sell in Great Britain and all that, Norway and all that countries, Japan and all that. So I do a predetermined table here, and I want to fill up the current conversion rates here. So what I do here, for each row in that Excel sheet. Okay, so we have this Excel for each row. Okay, so for each row in that sheet, that is which sheet, that is here I have to specify that. So that will be on this in the converter sheet. Okay, for each row. This does not have headers, if you noticed. I am going to I'm going to type into the browser. Okay, I'm going to type into the browser the currency and specify the conversion. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to type into which part of the browser. So the browser is here, so I'm going to indicate this location. Okay, so here okay, so this is the location. So notice that UiPath picks up a location. Now if I want to put an anchor or something like that, I can say, if I put an anchor like this, it means it'll find out this image on the browser, and then from there it will track to the box next to it. Usually we do this when there are multiple boxes, okay, too many input boxes, and then I want to say that put it in this particular input box, the first one. So what I do, I tag it to a label if required. Okay, so here nothing much, so I don't have to do anything. This is the only big box that is available. So I can say just confirm here. Okay, now what should I put in this field? I said type into this field something. So what should I type into this field? So here I can go and say type into this field from the current row okay, take this field. Okay, so if you notice, it takes current row, the first field there, okay, the currency field, and then I say space. So I'm typing simple text here to USD, and so in the browser we need to put an enter, right? So there are things where you can mimic special keys as well. So I hit enter. So basically what it's supposed to do is it will pick up the current row, okay, this particular row, the first value. Okay, I made a small mistake here. The converter has headers. Okay, so I didn't mention that. Okay, we'll mention that. So, and this picks this value up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, once this is done, so what it does is it will pick up the browser and hit the enter this value, hit enter. Now from there I would say this is the browser here. So it will hit enter. From there, say for example, it puts euro to USD. Okay, that is the first value. So this is what I will get. So from the studio, I am going to say that after you do this, get the text. So get the text from this box. Okay. Sometimes you might have noticed that the USD box comes up and the Euro box comes down and all that. So if you see there, it's the studio is showing that there is a confusion here. There is something very close to it. Okay. So what I would do is I will put an anchor to it. Now it's in green. So it means that, okay, I can identify this even if the boxes are switched. Okay. So then I say confirm. It picks this up. Where do I want to put the value? Okay, I will put it in column B. Okay, so let us see if it works up to this. Okay, if there is any issues, then we can resolve that and move forward. So what I expect my this one to do is, okay, so I'll just delete this whole thing. So I'm keeping this report thing clean. Now I will run my bot again. So bot is supposed to pick up this, fill these values, go to the, it's actually done something also. So it's supposed to enter this. Okay. Now it starts. Okay, I'm not doing this. Okay, and just in case you want to be sure. So it copies this, copies the second one. Then the third one. And also understand that UiPath is capable of understanding that the browser is still loading. Okay, sometimes if it takes too long to load, then it will time out. But otherwise it understands that the browser is still loading. That is why it doesn't type the third, fourth one yet. Okay, because yeah, once that load is done, it moves to the next one. It would have copied this thing. Okay, so it's come to an end. Let us go and open this and check here. Okay, Fine. So that is the mistake I have done, because if you see, it's entered some values, but it's not entered in the appropriate way. Okay, so we'll just fix that. Now, if you noticed here on this window, it copied all that stuff inside. It's also gone and created a cell here. Okay, it's also gone and created a cell. So we'll just fix this. So the currency converter has header, and okay, so I have to copy from the currency row. I will go and add the text to it. Okay, to USD, and special keys, go to enter. Okay, now let me close this, save it. Okay, so this has become bad now, so I'm going to put a new report. What, just CSI demo. So I'll just delete this, put a new report in there. Okay, now the conversion and all that has come up. Now, okay, here, where do I have to store? Current row conversion. Okay, now it should work fine. So let us not go about testing it again. It should work, believing in our own skills. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to calculate the sum. So in this Excel sheet, okay, here we would have mentioned that the total in USD would be there by now. Okay, so what I have to do is I have to now go and do some calculation. Okay, so what I'm going to do in UiPath, I'm going to add next thing. So after this browser is finished, I will say again for each Excel row, but this time the Excel row in the report column, which has headers, I'm going to look up the values. Okay, so there is a VLOOKUP. Now lookup table is something that you should have learned. Okay, basically it's a table from where you get information, and based on that you do some processing. So I'm going to look up from the okay, so I'm expecting current row here. Why isn't current row coming up? Okay, that's because of the scoping issue. So it should be within this for each. Okay, now it comes. So inside current row, I'm going to look up this column. Okay, this one. What's wrong? Current row, report template, report row. Okay, current row, indicate on Excel, come to converter. Just give me a moment. It's not picking something up. Let me do one thing. I will delete up to this, do a quick run so that it's able to associate the report sheet. Okay, so these are some of the common glitches that we face when we do this, because we are working with the tool assessing another application and all that. So these kind of things are very common. So you don't have to think that it's some struggle putting the code in. It's pretty straightforward things, but sometimes these things have these kind of issues. Okay, so I'm presuming, yeah. So now if you notice, it's picked up the appropriate values here. So this is the report sheet and all that. Now let me go and do that one more time. So I'm coming here outside the browser. For each Excel in the current row. Okay, so current row in the report sheet, which has headers. I'm going to add a lookup, which, okay, see, now it shows up. Okay, so this is basically some glitch in that. So here in the current row, I'm going to pick up currency. So for each row in the report record, so this is the reports sheet, right? So for each row, it will take the currency in this sheet and then do a lookup. So it will go to, okay, so in this current row, it takes the currency and then goes to the converter. Okay, so it goes to the converter, and from there in converter, so this is the converter sheet. So in this, I want to take the second column. So I'm only interested in the second. So it does an exact match, and here I can specify the second column. Okay, if you want to go by column names or anything is fine. And then I want to save this value in a kind of a variable. So save for later use. Now, as I told you, say typically if you're a programmer, you see it as a store it on a variable. But since I told this is not meant for programmers, they make it sound more common language. Say save the value for later use. You don't have to do anything. You just have to say, okay, it automatically picks it, put a value from lookup. So if you see here, it says there is this save for later use. The value from pickup is already lookup is, sorry, the value for lookup is already there. Now the next thing is I want to come and write this into a cell. So I want to write a cell, and if you noticed, I'm putting it within the for each scope. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a small formula here. Okay, so let me go to a text editor. So here I'll say equal to from the current row that is in the report Excel, choose the price and multiply it by the quantity, current row into quantity, and multiply it by the currency conversion. Okay, so what we from the lookup. Okay, so that is the value from the lookup. Okay, so the value from the lookup is what we saved. So now this should be there. Okay, what to write? So we know we've done the calculation. Where do we write it? In the current rows, total USD, this one. Okay, so now this calculation should be done, and Once this calculation is done, the next thing is what was the use case? Okay, so the use case was calculate the total sales per entry in USD. So that is done. Task 3 is done. Now we're going to create a pivot table. Okay, now a pivot table is, I'm not explaining a pivot table here, okay, since it is not the intention of this thing. Basically, it is a table of summary. Okay, it's a table in which we would go and summarize a report. Okay, so I'm going to create a pivot table. Okay, so create a pivot table here. So if you notice, the pivot table will fall outside the scope of this. Okay, so if I click this, it can minimize. Okay, this is one thing. This is one thing. Okay, this is the first converter for each. This is the second report total calculation for each, and then comes my pivot table. Okay, so in the pivot table, I'm going to do a region wise total. Okay, say for example, I'm going to give a report where how much sales was done in France and how much sales was done in each of the country that is available. So we have this location: France, Norway, Spain, and all that, right? So we're going to do a calculation based on this and send a report. So that table is going to come here. So that is the intention of what we're trying to do here. So I'm going to say the pivot table should constitute of so here I'll have to indicate on the Excel sheet the range. So I will select this one. So this becomes my range. Okay, that is that whole report. This one. Okay, so probably I took a little too much just to help it. Okay, so just to help it take a range, I will go from here to here up to the whole thing. Okay, just up to this. Okay, so that becomes my range. Okay, so from the report table, this will be from A1 to F50, 50 rows we have. Okay, so I've taken a few more. And then what is the table name? So table name would be something like, I can put it as a text. Okay, so let me call it sales summary. And then to which sheet should this be put? So that is the pivot sheet. Now we'll create a small table structure. So I add a pivot field. The first field will be location, because we are doing it based on France, right? I mean the countries, right? So that is location. The second will be from the range. It will be taking from this total, but we are going to take the value and sum it up. Okay, so we're going to add all totals for a location and put it in the same row. So these are the two things that we've added into the pivot table. So now if I run it, okay, things look good. I should be able to reach up to there. Okay, so let's quickly run and see if what we've done is correct. So the bot is opened these things up. Okay, it's done the currency conversion. Okay, it's finished up now. Let us go and check the Excel sheet. Okay, we have the report here, if you noticed this one. Okay, so the totals have also been made, all in USD. So with the current rate, and now the pivot table. So France, we did a total sales in USD for this much amount and so on. Okay, so yeah, so for this one, the table is ready. Now the next thing that we have to do is we'll have to go and save this. Okay, so this is the pivot table. So once after we create this, we're going to save this Excel, okay, into a separate file. So first, what I will do, I will get a file name and things like that. Okay, so there is something called as get file info. Basically, to copy it, email it, and all that, we'll need some file path, the file name, and all that stuff, right? So this is a thing that queries the Windows properties of the file. Okay, so I will choose which file here. So that is the report file. Okay, and I will save these properties into something called as say I'll call it report file info. So this is a variable into which. So if you notice on this right side, I've saved it into a file info. So now I will save this Excel file. Okay, so there is something called as save Excel file. So this automatically picks up the only Excel template that we are working with. Now this file gets persisted. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of this file with a slightly different name so that I can later on go and send it by email or something. So let me go and say copy file. I'm just going to make a copy into the same folder. So I will go and say from the saved ones, from the report file info, I will fetch the full path of the file and then save it with a slightly different name. So let me save it as report underscore, I'll put the current date. Okay, so notice here there is one project notebook. It's called notes. Now this is a Excel sheet that I did not create. If you initially saw when the project folder was created, I only put these product export and the report thing. All the others were created by the tool then itself. So this project notebook is another Excel file that the project has a lot of common things that are used like date, text, and all that. This kind of stuff is there. So we can, it's like in Oracle, you have this stuff from Dual, select from Dual, right? So something like that. Okay, basically you are able to use some generic information that will be available for this. Okay, so here I would say from this notebook, get me today's date in year, month, and day, and then append this with the report file info file name. Okay, something like that. So file name will put a report.xml or something, XLS to it, and save it. So now the file gets saved. Now if I don't write anything, any other directory in front, it just stores in the project directory itself. I would want it to be overwritten every time a new thing is created, because today, otherwise we can have separate folders created and all that kind of stuff. Okay, now that I've created this file, I want to send an email. Okay, so to send an email, I would I have my Outlook here. I've configured my Outlook with some my own test mailboxes. Okay, so and I have also installed the if you notice here, I've installed the Outlook package. Okay, this helps me to get Outlook related tasks. So if I go here and say use Outlook account. So it will directly use it. Now you can open a browser with a Gmail or anything like that. Okay, we've already seen that. So this is a different thing. And it opens an Outlook account. So I'll need to specify some account here. So I'll just put this account here. And this is a reference. Like we already saw, this is a reference. Okay, so I'll put like learning email account, something like that. Okay, so this, if you notice, it already changed here. Okay, so from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send an email. So send Outlook email. So this send email is a more generic one. Send Outlook email is one that pertains to this Outlook thing. Okay, so it automatically picks this account up that is on the project. To whom should we send? Okay, so I can just put a text here, anything for that matter. I'll put say the other account that is in that some account I've created 10.87.in@gmail.com. Okay, so both of these accounts are dummy accounts. So in case you want to send some feedback, don't send it to it, good or bad, cuss words, anything. Okay, don't send it to any of these accounts. So those are only for test purposes. Okay, so if I want to send a copy, I can send a copy here. Then I would like to put a subject. Now subject can be dynamically picked up. Okay, so I can say subject would be sales report, and I will put the file name. So say I can use what is saved, report file info, and let me put the file name there. Okay, so that comes in the subject. Now here I can go and type a meaningful text. So say hi as the sales report for, okay, I can put the date here. So I go to project name for today. Okay, in US dollars. Okay, so that's good to save. Now if you don't want to send it directly, okay, you can most of the time for critical emails, you want a person to just have a look at it and then send it over. But if you want to send it, you can say don't save as a draft, but most of the time we will just say save it as draft so that somebody just verifies it and then sends it over. Now we need to attach the report file. Okay, so that is what we've been trying to do here. So I need to so the report file is dynamically generated, so I just can't copy it. So what I'll do, I know I've saved it here, so I copy this whole thing, Control A, and put that here. So now that's the whole thing for us. Okay, so if you see, initially we went on to read a CSV, write it into an Excel file. Okay, then open Chrome, we took the converter rates, generated the pivot table, and then we did a little file operation. So we saved it into a different file name, and then we also are sending it into an email. So now, just for the sake of starting afresh, I will remove everything on this sheet. Okay, save this report sheet. So the report sheet is technically empty now. We'll just see if things are working. My So there is too many instances that has been opened. Okay, that's right. So yeah, the others are in place. My Outlook. So today inbox. This is my inbox. Let's say somebody's trying to log into me. My account, and then the sent items, there is nothing that's been sent today. So last sent was Wednesday. So just confirming that things are here. This is like the magician showing, see, look at this, I don't have anything in my hand, before you just pull out something. Okay, so I'm going to run the bot now. So bot technically is supposed to do all those things in the background. Okay. So it does it at reasonably good speed. Okay, so since my network is a bit slow, you see that it takes a little time on the browser, but otherwise it's even fast there as well. Okay. Okay, so the indication is, if in the bottom screen you see this dark UI CSI demo. Okay, so that is the bot. Now that disappears, the bot has completed his work. So the proof of that would be if I go here in the sent email and I have to refresh. Send and receive items or something like that. Update folder. Okay. Okay, it looks like it's not sent it. So it's in the drafts. Oh, this was a previous one. Okay. Looks like the email has not been sent, but it didn't show us any error. Okay, I have some connectivity issues here. Okay, let us look at the report here. So the report has been generated, okay, from a clean slate. This all these have been created. Just that Outlook, it's either okay. Outlook is still synchronizing. Probably that could be the reason that the mail was not sent, but of course the mail would get sent. Okay, I have these older copies anyway here. Fine. So now we'll come back here. So this is the sales demo. I'm going to take a pause for some questions. If we don't have any questions, we're going to take a 10 minutes. If you'd like to have a longer, maximum of 15 minutes of break, then we'll come back and look at a few more things and then close it. We're not going to spend too much time. Effectively, we're not going to spend all the 4 hours that we are allocated with, but we'll try and see a few more things which I deem important. And I can also see that the number of participants going down, which is in a way the keen people would still stick on. So I'll be around for about 2-3 minutes. If you have any questions, please type them on the chat. If you really want to ask, then ask the host to unmute you. But chat is good enough if that is if it's only for the purpose of asking valuable questions. And then we can take a break. So after the break, we'll meet at 12:40. Yeah. Okay, so there is a question here that says, if we are being in this Zoom, it's important then for this. Are you asking if you would receive a certificate for this, for attending this session? Kritika, I think I'm not able to understand the question. Okay, any other questions from anybody? Yes, if you attend. Okay. I would have to check that because I'm completely outside of this, the institution that runs this. So, and since I'm not representing UiPath here, I wouldn't be able to give a UiPath accreditation or something like that. It's more about a webinar for sharing knowledge. So I don't have something that I can share as a certificate, but maybe if the organizers, if they would like to give something, that I think they would communicate with you. If you have given your email in during the time of registration or something, I think they would at least get back to you saying it is there or not there when they send in the feedback forms. It's what I presume. But they would be right, the right people. Yeah, there is a confirmation that certificates will be provided. That's great. Can we use these bots in Telegram? Okay, so that's I would take that as a broader answer, broader question rather, for mobile devices. So at the moment, there are not too many standard or the big players of giving bots for mobile applications, like bots for Android or bots for Apple. But Automation Anywhere does. That is, I told you one of that. Automation Anywhere does have bots for Android, and there are other things. But what they give is they provide controls from mobile phones, like the orchestrator on for mobile app is available. Okay, orchestrator as a mobile app is available, but bots for mobile is at least at the moment not there. I guess you want to send some automated good morning messages and all that, replies to good morning and things like that. You want to make it into a bot or something. At least we don't have that right now. Yes, Google Assistant, your Siri and all that are bots, but it's very what to say, tied to say devices. Okay, so they don't have say for example, you don't have a uh, very open API that others can customize, so they are tied to devices. So those kind of bots are there. Even your Windows has Cortana, and Shiri is there and all that. So that can be considered a bot. Yeah. No, it will not replace code-based automation, but it will actually, the intention is to replace employees in organizations. Okay, so you replace full-time employees by virtual employees, virtual workforce as it is called. And coding itself is going away in certain areas. Like I told today, this is the question from Abdur, where he asks, will coding be replaced? I mean, code-based automation. Coding itself is being replaced. We have low code, no code systems like say OutSystems, IBM BAW and all that are available, which is process automation using low code platforms. But completely, it at least from what I see, it cannot be taken away without that, at least in the near future. Okay, so any other questions? Okay, there is one more question here. Can bots be run on a device from a server existing? Yes, definitely. We will see that. Okay, I will show that part later on. I will show that part. Okay, so fine. Yeah, so bots. Can bots be used to rectify errors? A very generic question. So I would say yes and no. So it depends. If the errors require human intelligence, okay, like troubleshooting based on human intelligence, it will not. But say for example, you try to do a transaction in the bank, and there is an internal failure where due to some communication between two systems. Now that a bot can come in and do a retry at a later point in time and things like that, automated retries and things like that. That can be done. Okay, but if it's something that requires human intelligence, usually troubleshooting is an area where a lot of human intelligence would be required, rectifying errors. Okay, so bots getting in there is difficult, but as I told, it completely depends on scenarios and on any platform for that matter. Okay, so it's 12:31. We'll take up questions again. Okay, we might have time to take up questions at the end of the sessions. So we'll take a break with immediate effect. We'll come back at 12:45 and continue.
I request all the participants to fill in the feedback form. The link is in the chat box to avail your e-certificates.
Okay. There was one last question. Disconnected and came back into the meeting, so I missed that question. I think it was from Ronaldo. What was that you had asked? Okay. So can bots be used basically when the device is off? Okay. Device. I would see it as my say laptop. So if it is completely shut down, it doesn't work. So if it is on standby, meaning the processing is possible, okay, then it can work. So the thing is, as I told you, unattended bots are there, okay, which can work without any human intervention. So those are typically devices that won't even have peripherals, like they won't have keyboards and monitors and all that, okay. So still bots can run there, but not in a switched off device or powered off. Yeah, is there a way to run the bot on the cloud? On the cloud, if you say, for example, talk about a Amazon cloud, there are different types of systems there, right? So if you talk about a compute node, okay, then there you can install a bot. So that is like just like a laptop, but it's somewhere else. So it still can be there on the cloud. It can be there. It depends on the type of node that you're working with. Even if it is off, that's what I said. If it is powered off, no, it's not possible. It's like you just need it to be powered on. But it's powered on in a idling state or something. Yeah, bots can be triggered from the background to it. Yeah, IoT and bot integration is there. Yeah, bots are now capable of connecting to uh, IoT, okay, and devices. But again, these are evolving technologies, if I put it that way. You can't find too many implementations around that area. So in my past, like I've been on this technology for about 4 years now, close to 4 years at least. So when initially when we started, it was very simple. Now things are moving slowly towards AI and ML. IoT options are there, but if you see overall, the implementations are very far and few. And okay, let me share my screen again. Okay, so we have there's one more question that's on the chat. Okay, that is for the feedback forms, right? Okay. There's a presentation, yeah. Maybe the host can answer this. do you want me to give some time to fill the feedback form and then continue, or would you want them to
No, sir, it's fine, sir.
fill the feedback sometime later?
Okay, sir.
I would prefer not to do that, do both parallelly. Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
if you're I will maybe I'll do it this way. Okay. So for people who want to leave the session, the feedback is quite important for the organization. So let them know your
No, sir, we can do it at the end, sir. The feedback form.
and
Last 5
yeah,
minutes.
so if people want to leave the session, just before leaving the session, just fill the form and leave. The others will continue the session, and then anyway, I would not take the full 4 hours. I'll close it a little, probably another half an hour. I'm expecting to close it by half an hour. If we extend it with something interesting, then we'll do that. Apart from that, we'll do the feedbacks later. Okay. Fine. So now the next thing that I wanted to demonstrate was we saw the studio. Okay, so building the whole bot and all that we saw. So once that is done, the bot would actually get published to a orchestrator. So this is the orchestrator here. Now this orchestrator is hosted by UiPath. Okay, so generally this is how it is. Orchestrators will be hosted on a cloud and accessed through the internet, and of course as a web application. Most of the time this is how it is. We don't have desktop based orchestrators anymore. So it's a web application, and this is kind of my organization's thing. Of course, this is not my actual organization's UiPath orchestrator page. This is what I've created for the training, but I'm using my organization's um, uh, community license for it, because UiPath does not give a lot of things for individuals. Okay, so you'll have to go through an organization mail ID and all that, especially orchestrator. So from the orchestrator, you can download the studio. Here it will provide the license that you're eligible with. Okay, and you can see other things as well. Let me make this a little smaller, because the scrolling is not showing up. When I share the screen. Okay, so fine. So here it can quickly give you a dashboard where you can see what is being run or what is being deployed. Now, this is the home page. Okay, a quick dashboard of what is pending, assigned, unassigned, recent processes that were run, recent applications. Now, the core orchestration page comes here. This is where a lot of configurations would be done. Okay, so it's taking a bit to load. So if you see I can see how many processes have been deployed into the orchestrator, and the automations that are there. So I put one demo quite a year ago or something like that, and then the bots. Okay, I have created one bot. So this bot is disconnected. Then how many environments do I have? So I have this one development environment. Environment is basically, you can think of say for development, testing, and then the production, like that. Okay, how many environments I have, what are the monitoring that I've enabled on these bots. Okay, so this dashboard, if I had more bots, it would look more fancy. So it would show graphs where what is available, what's running, what's blocked, and all that kind of stuff. And here you can have your queues. Okay, you can add queues of I told you, right, initially we can schedule these bots to run. So these queues would help you to do that kind of scheduling and all that. So here you can mention various assets. Okay, so this is a lot of configuration inside here. Now a tenant is something that is where you put the bots. Okay, so under this, you can see what bots are there. Okay, you can organize the bots in folder structures. You can specify users who would work with the bot. Okay, in terms of like what roles. So here I am one of the users, so I am an administrator with this. So you can define roles. Now for computer science people, you should have learned, when you learned application security, you have something called as roles and users and user role mapping and things like that. Okay, so basically for anything you define a set of roles, like somebody who would just look at it. Okay, you can say a role called supervisor or monitor. He'll just look at what is happening. Then you have a role called, say, deployer, who can deploy a bot. Okay, or you can have a role called operator, who would basically go and stop, start, and things like that. You can have a role called configurator, who can change the configurations, and you can have a higher level role called administrator and all that. Similarly, that's the at the application level. Similarly, here there are all these are all predefined roles here. Okay, so the topmost role is an administrator, and then there are these smaller roles like bots, folder administrator, and all that. Fine-grained control. Basically, it's for access control. Then on this tab, this is one of the main things where you would have to configure machines on which bots would be deployed. Okay, so if I say add a machine, okay, so this can, as I told you, you can add a cloud compute node. Okay, so if it's on the cloud, you can add a machine there. You can create a machine template and then add it. If it's a standard desktop machine, you can specify the machine name. Now this should be the host name of the machine. I mean the host name of the machine, fully qualified host name of the machine on which bots would be eventually deployed. You should also go ahead and mention the licenses that can be allocated to this machine for unattended runtimes, for non-prod runtimes, and testing runtimes. Unattended would be production unattended runtimes as well. Okay, so I'm not creating, but I have created my own machine here. So if you need to just look at what is there, this is my machine. I've called it the user PC as the host name of that machine. So what happens is the orchestrator generates a unique machine key. Okay, we'll see how this key is getting used. So you can imagine this way: from this orchestrator, if I need to deploy a bot in your machine, I would have to create a new machine here, and for your individual machine there will be a unique key that gets created. Okay, very simple, straightforward, nothing complex here. And then I will say how many licenses and all that kind of stuff, okay, for that machine. And then if I need to deploy these packages, okay, into machines, I will have to create the bot application as a package and then deploy it here. And for using any credentials, we have these credential vaults. Okay, so basically credential vault is a place where you securely store your username and password. Okay, when you need to, say for example, the bot needs to access a backend system which requires username password. So you cannot type the username password, hard code it inside the bot when you're doing a bot programming. Okay, so try and follow this. It's say for example, the bot needs to log in into your Gmail account. Okay, while I'm developing the bot, I will not know which Gmail account, first of all, and it's not a good practice to enter the username password to log into your Gmail account in the bot code. I mean, in the studio, like what we did earlier. So what we do, we store that username and password inside this credential store, or it's called credential vault. So, and that credentials will be masked completely private here. So usually we will not even allow the administrator to store. We'll give the end users an access to the credential vault through a different API, and they will be able to store their things. And for any, this is called backend single sign-on, backend SSO. If you're into the computer science thing, you should have heard of it. Okay, single sign-on and all that. So this is called a backend SSO. So for backend SSO, when credentials are needed, it can be stored in these credential vaults. Okay, and then the licenses. So here you can have a quick view of the licenses that are available that are used currently and all that. Okay, so there is this masked license key that is available for me, which expires on August 3rd. So yeah, this is the orchestrator here. Now, as an administrator who uses the administrator can work on different things, like he can allocate licenses, okay, whatever license that is used. He can check the audit logs. Okay, so what happened 10 minutes ago, yesterday, who logged in, all that kind of stuff can be seen. Organization settings, okay, what is the name of the organization, and the other stuff, including any license agreement with the organization, and there's an organization support ID. So if I need to connect back to the UiPath support team and say that I have an issue with the product, and this is the ID that you provide for your organization. Okay, so the administrator will be able to create new users and new roles and all that, users groups and all that. Roles are mostly predefined, but users and groups can be created out of here. And from here, the administrator, I mean the person who uses the orchestrator would be able to execute things. Okay, so if I come here, I would be able to see a list of things, what is available, or if nothing is there pending for me, I can go to this processes. Okay, so I have this process that is here. So from here, I can run this process. Okay, now how does the process come here? If you go to this studio, notice that the studio will automatically connect to the orchestrator, and here it says a robot is not connected to the orchestrator. So the studio is not connected to the orchestrator. So how does that work? So if I go to this this robot panel and go to settings, okay, I have some issues with it, I'll tell you. But if I go to settings, I have this orchestrator setting. So notice that this machine name was what was displayed there. And there is a unique orchestrator URL, that is a cloud URL, and the machine name. Okay, so all I have to do is connect here. So until yesterday, I was getting some issues, so I didn't really bother to fix it. So it says it's connected, but it's unlicensed for some reason. So now it is connected to the orchestrator. And now if I come into the studio, it's still not connected because of that license issue. So if I push from here, okay, if I push this package from here, this package through this locally installed UiPath assistant will connect to the orchestrator through this setting and then deploy the bot here. Okay, it will deploy the bot here. So the process will come here that we had implemented. Now from here, I can connect it to this machine or any other machine and then run. Okay, so those configurations are all what we see in the orchestrator configurations. But due to that issue, I'm not able to demonstrate that. But you can still go ahead and test it when you go and set it up. Okay, so I will do a disconnect. So when I disconnect, what happens is my studio is still connected to this assistant, and from my studio I would be able to publish this task, this CSI college demo that we created. I can publish it to this local studio. So it asks for a name, a version, and all that. Okay, and then if I just go publish process, okay, file, okay, the file is used by another process. Let me close that file. I don't know why that file is used by another process. Anything else that is open? Let me publish now. Okay, so it published successfully. Okay, so now if I come here, I would see that this is awaiting install, meaning it has come to the machine's UiPath assistant, but it's not still a bot. So if I give a install here, it gets installed. Now it is only available locally. It's not come to my orchestrator, and it's not going to come to my orchestrator. As I told you, it's because of those issues. But if I fix that issue, and then if I connect to the orchestrator from this settings panel, if I connect this, then from here, this will be available on the orchestrator here. And from here, I can push it to other systems as well. It's only about how many machines I configure under this tenant folder. And then basically I will go and push it to different systems. So once they are all in those systems, it is only about running this. Now this is a front end attended bot, meaning it works along with me. So I will click on this, okay, and it works here. Now one thing about the front end bots is that these bots, see, I just clicked it and it started running. So these front end bots will use user interfaces. So even though it works on the same machine as I do, I will not be able to use the machine while this bot is running. Okay, so it's a small tricky thing, but backend unattended bots can do that for you. So the bots will be running in the background. They will mostly not use too many user interfaces. It will be running some batch jobs and stuff like that. Okay, so these bots will you can use the system separately. Mostly, as I told you the other way, those systems are things that we generally don't even have peripherals. Okay, so it's between that. Now let me see if the bot is finished. Looks like it has. Okay, let me see at least now if it has sent that email. Last time it did not. Why is my Outlook not opening? Has it finished? Yeah, bot seems to have finished. Now my machine also seems to have finished. Let me close this, not required. Okay, Outlook is slow for some reason. Let that be. At least the execution did not show an error. What did it? No, it didn't. Fine, let us come back to the orchestrator here. So this is the orchestrator. So these were the things that I wanted to demonstrate. Okay, so that is the orchestrator for your studio and the bot here. Now, so we went through this use case. Now some of the other general theory. Okay, I'm not again going into a deep dive into theory part, but I want to just try and relate this to what you people do and you would like to know. Especially, I understand that it's a larger spectrum of audience here, because I heard that we have some college students, staff, as well as some school students. So generally, to give you an orientation of where you would fit into this big picture, or where RPA would associate with you, RPA is used in almost every industry. Like in these are the domains. Okay, so these are the domains that I have. People management domain, okay, where payroll applications are involved, hiring applications are involved, uh, time and attendance management systems are involved. Okay, where like you would, I was a lecturer about 15, 16, 17 years ago. So as a lecturer in an education field, I had a lot of things that I'd like to do. Like, for example, I love to teach. So that's why I grab an opportunity every time it comes. But I hate to do other things like they have this thing where you report the attendance into a form and then put it into Excel, print it out. They have this writing of some notes of lesson and all that. A lot of things were there. I kind of forgot all that. But those are things I did not like to do. And those things, if possible, we can automate. Okay, using a bot in that industry. But it's like in a lot of industries, like in supply chain, the invoice management, work order management. In IT industry, that is somebody asked about processing in IT, like batch processing, data analysis, extraction, like we just saw. Finance industries, where lots of reports are sent. So this is where RPA is very, very useful. So some of the very popular use cases for unattended bots to automate things like data collection, reporting, and all that, like in a payroll system. We can say that use cases like for back office, paperless back office. Now, front office support. This works as, say, for example, there is a customer support assistant. We call them that customer care executives, right? So you go and call in a customer care executive, and then he has to get some information. Like in one of my earlier projects, I worked with a company where they store your documents. Okay, I quite intentionally not naming that company, but you might have known them. Like when you go to the bank applying for say some loan or something, or any bank account, they ask for a lot of especially when you go for home loans and all that, or probably even your education loans, I don't know. They'll ask for a lot of documents. Especially when you go for home loans, they take your original document. Okay, you kind of hypothecate it with them, right? Even if you take a vehicle loan, you know that your RC is hypothecated with them. And the banks will not store the documents. They will actually give it to a third party document keeper. Okay, that guy is very careful about keeping these original documents. So he's specialized with that. Actually, in fact, the organization that I worked with, they are they have some mountains that they've leased, and inside the mountains they have created these bunker kind of storage areas, which is very, very safe. Okay, so there they go and it's in the US, where they store it store all the US uh, banks and other offices. They're all their physical documents. So what I was trying to say is, when somebody calls in from the bank and says that I want to verify something from this particular document, okay, so there will be a customer care guy who would have actually go to search for various sources, services, and all that, and get some information, because they're the document keepers. Okay, so in order to enhance this or speed up this response to the customer, we can use bots. Okay, so this will be the coexistent bots, attended bots that support human workers while they are doing catering to customers, ideally for people in the customer care. Then we have these self-service virtual intelligent chat bots. One of the examples is your Google Assistant, your Siri, and all that. We have chatbots in our organizations. Like if I want to download my payslip, okay, so I open that chatbot and say, get me my payslip, so it will just download it into my machine. Small things like that, okay, which I don't need to interact and send a formal email and all that. So these kind of self-service, okay, bots are available. Then in IT management, again, as I told you, help desk, service requests, event management, assess the things that are happening in the environments. The platform management related IT management bots can be there. These are typically unattended bots. Then document processing. So there are bots that are capable of reading documents using OCR, okay, optical character recognition from image recognition things, and then they can make them into structured and unstructured data. Okay, so this will also work well. This, of course, OCR depends on the input. If the input is not very legible, then the OCR recognition algorithms might not work. But most of the time, if it's suitable for the bot, it can be implemented that way. And here, I'm not going to spend too much time here, as for the want of things. Just three things that I want to tell. If you go for RPA, one thing is the delivery would be excellent. The human errors would be avoided. One thing, all the minor human errors that come in, they can be avoided on repetitive tasks. Okay, no human error. It can be even to zero human errors. Then return of investment, like what they do is they calculate that one bot can actually replace 4 full-time employees. So there is a good cost to profit ratio. So return of investment is there and it's pretty quick. So there is an acceleration to that as well. And when there are a lot of compliance related, like the banks have to do a lot of verification to avoid risks. Uh, Say for example, this money laundering risk or elimination and all that. So these are all mostly verifications and checks that are done. Okay. So this compliance, like for example, in Europe, there is a compliance thing called GDPR, okay, General Data Protection Regulation. So we need to check if the company transactions are GDPR compliant and all that. So for that, the bots are very good. Okay, they just do these checks without any errors. And for you, how is it relevant? Today, everything is about automation. Okay, the style of somebody sent a message. Limitations of RPA. Okay, limitations of RPA is like what to say. One of the first things that I said, if it requires a lot of human intelligence, human intervention, where decisions are made based on experience, ad hoc decisions that are not rule based, then bots are not good. So if there are, you don't have structured unstructured data or unreadable data that as input, and you don't have well-defined rule system in your rules, what we call business rules, well-defined business rules, then bots are not good enough. So that way you can see it as a limitation when you go into the technology as such. Okay, now yeah, so that was one question I had. Fine. So coming to how relevant is it today, the industry, everybody is talking about something called as automation first era. Okay, so this uh, when you come into process management and things like that, okay, at that level, say when I talk to a customer, their business team who is very much worried about making more profit. Okay, one of the things when I talk to them, the first thing that they'll say is, I want everything that is possible to be automated to be automated. So they would want everything to be automated. Uh, Basically that reduces cost for them, and that increases productivity, that increases, so the bot doesn't go for a tea, the bot doesn't go play table tennis and all that kind of stuff. So bot just keeps working it's so to say power out. Okay, so this advantage increases production, the eventually the revenue. So everything is being automated. So when you come out of college, look for job, this is going to be one of the things that you can easily learn and be ready. The other thing is bot is going to be relevant to everybody, because the other things that are predicted as a technology trend for 2020 2021 is RPA democratization. Okay, so it's like democracy, everything for everybody kind of thing. Okay, so they are looking at having bots at different scales made available for everybody, and that is one way you are already using your bots like Google Assistants, the Alexa and all that. Okay, so they are all in a way bots that accompany you, that's available. It's like everybody gets a bot pet or a bot buddy kind of thing. So that way it is it would be very relevant to you in the immediate future. Okay, so some of the roles that say this is for people who are finishing your college and starting to look out. Okay, so in RPA, one thing is the guy who determines the process. Okay, so they'll talk about what how the processes can be redefined, how much of them can be modeled into automated processes and all that. So this guy is a process analyst. Okay, so you'll come to this after some time, but immediately you can become a bot developer. So tomorrow you can, even wherever they have these freelance bot developers, you can start working with them. Okay, there are things available for that. So you can become a bot developer. Basically you do what I showed you. So you just design a small flow, okay, and develop these applications, set up things around that for monitoring, and produce some documentations and all that. Then a more say administration related role is a bot administrator who typically works on the orchestrator. Okay, the thing that we saw. So he'll ensure that all the correct versions of bots are installed. If any fix packs or patches needs to be installed to these client machines, those will be handled. New bot versions are distributed properly, all that kind of stuff will be done. So these are the three main roles. One is the analyst. He will be designing a very high level solution. Then the developer who will do the low level design and implementation. Then the administrator who manages the execution of that bot. Okay, so these are the roles. Now I'll take a pause here. Okay, it's been quite a while now. So I would want to understand your mindset. Okay, because like I said, I can keep going on for about another hour and throwing more information and more information. But considering all other things, I would like to know if it's good enough if we stop here, okay, and wind up the session with a small Q&A, or if you want to see a small demo of what this studio can do, I can show that as well. But I will leave the choice to the crowd. Okay, because I don't want information to flow over your head. Okay, because after a point, if you've reached your saturation point of taking in information today, there is no point in then going on. So I expect something to come up on chat. Okay, if you feel it's good enough to stop, we'll just move into our question and answer sessions. Or if you want me to continue for about another half an hour, 45 minutes, I can still do that. But I'm okay to stop completely. So I'm expecting something from some response from the crowd. Okay, so fine. So we would bring it to a close here. Okay, so because if I start the next one, then I'll at least need about 45 minutes. So we'll be around for about 10 more minutes. That is until 1:30. Okay, and I will be looking into the chat and answering some questions. People who want to leave a feedback, I mean, fill in your feedback and close it for the day, welcome to do so. People who want to stay back and ask more questions, please do it until another 10 minutes. So we have a question here, or rather a suggestion to tell about general placement opportunities. Yeah. So placement opportunities, since RPA is very easy to learn and execute. Right out of college, you can become an RPA developer without much experience. Probably they would need some training certificate. Like for example, UiPath has its own free academy. You don't have to pay much. It teaches a considerably good area. So in that you can complete the courses and get a certification, and that is good enough for you to get into a job as a RPA developer. So a junior developer can still start working. Overall opportunities as such, every industry that I've seen, like I told you, everybody wants to do some type of automation, some automation or the other. So automation is the next not really the next. It is currently one of the most wanted technologies there. So definitely the opportunity is there, and it's not as competitive as your Java programming and things like that. So the ratio should be very small. For 100 Java programmers, you probably have about 20 RPA programmers. So that competition is there. I mean, competition is very less in this field. So opportunities definitely will be proportionately more. So, yeah. So yeah, like I said, another 8 minutes of any questions. Yeah, that's a long question. Do you think bots combined with, yes. Would it be signing, would be like signing our own death certificate? Yeah. And as many entrepreneurs have warned about AI, this new view. Okay, my opinion is like see the it's much more like that movie where we still think that we just use the 20% of the human brain, right? So my opinion is nobody is there to nothing is going to replace us in the near future. But you put many entrepreneurs, right? Entrepreneurs will always look for money. Okay, so they want to make more profit. So definitely they'll try to replace us. Okay, even though they warned you about the bots, they would want their bots to do that. Okay. Even Elon Musk, if you go into the Tesla factory, he's definitely going to use bots to assemble his cars. He's not going to give work for humans. So he'll use some AI based bots, things like that there as well. So definitely they'll try to replace humans who are costly resources these days. Yeah, that's going to be there. But in my opinion, it's going to take a long time to replace things. Replace human employees who are using their brains. Okay, so again, that eventually becomes like if you're not very intelligent in the organization, you'll be replaced by a bot. So that also is there. Okay, so I'll stop sharing now, and anything else that somebody wants to ask, please do. Okay, so I presume there is nothing coming my side, no questions from you all. So thanks for participating. Good that you were able to stay there. Which project currently, which project I am doing? Okay, I am working like I told you for a telecom company in Europe. So where we do process optimization and automation projects. In fact, in my organization, we are using Blue Prism for automation, RPA. So that is one of the technologies that we are using. In one of my earlier projects in India, we did this for one of the big TV channels. So if you noticed, these news channels, I don't know if you follow these English news channels, they will say that this week we had the #1 viewership and all that, and then this Arnab Goswami was in news for manipulating the TRP rating and all that, right? So we did a project where we used bots to analyze TRP ratings and generate reports for one of the media organizations here. Okay, I'm not naming the organizations quite intentionally, but yeah, we've done those. That was for with UiPath, so we did that project a little earlier. Okay. What are the things that bots would be able to do in the near future? Very, very difficult question, in fact, because from what we see, they probably total back office will become bots. Like we have chat bots for interacting with customer care kind of thing, and yeah, and then all the customer care things, right? To see, if you call a customer care, basically they don't really do anything beyond what they've their strict rule book. Those kind of people are at the highest risk of getting replaced. So that is, in the near future, bot will probably replace all these customer care service centers and these kind of back office, front office stuff. So that will be the immediate impact. Not so much to the developer community and all that, application developers and all that. Okay, so until you keep asking, I'll be around if the questions dry up. Okay, so don't have to like really find a question. If you really don't have a question, it's okay. When the questions dry up, we'll call it a day. Have a good afternoon. Even though it's raining in Kunur, I don't know about the other places where you joined from. It's raining quite heavily here, so time for a good hot lunch.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the informative session. And I
Sure.
thank all the participants. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you.